When a wrestler gets over in WWE, they can do one of two things. They can either capitalize on the immense popularity and push that wrestler up the card and in turn reap the financial rewards, or they can completely ignore it and hope that the popularity dwindles down. Over the years, WWE have had a toxic habit of doing the latter, as a wrestler getting over on their own accord is seen as a taboo, and WWE traditionally aren't fans of a wrestler breaking out into the main event if they don't have it in their own creative vision. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 wrestlers WWE refused to push after they got over organically. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new channel, Wrestlelamia Shorts. Number 10. Rusev. Rusev was pushed relatively quickly when he joined the main roster in 2014, but it was when Rusev began his Rusev Day persona when his popularity truly skyrocketed. Virtually overnight, Rusev became one of the most popular stars in WWE, and when he joined forces with Aiden English, the Rusev Day act was complete. WWE needed to take full advantage of Rusev's newfound popularity. Rusev would often have the best-selling merchandise on WWE Shop, and his name was chanted throughout shows as the fans would stop at nothing to show support for the former US champion. WWE resented the fact that Rusev had managed to get over with the Rusev Day act, and WWE barely featured him on programming. WWE would act in such a petty manner as they made bizarre decisions such as editing Rusev Day chants out, and they would try to come up with a plan to get the Rusev Day chants to go away forever. Rusev, who now goes under the name of Miro in AEW, would discuss the great lengths that WWE went to diminish his popularity on Ryback's podcast, and this is what he had to say. They started putting my segments early so the Rusev chants could go away. There was a period when I wasn't even supposed to be at Wrestlemania, the one that I lost to Jinder at the height of my career of Rusev Day. I was not on TV for 3 weeks. At this point, I'm sitting back listening to the people all day chanting Rusev Day. At this point, I went to see one of the writers and said, "This is not right. This is the first time I yelled at a writer, which I feel really bad about." He said, "We don't know what to do." I said, "What do you mean you don't know what to do? Just listen. Stay here and listen. They will tell you what to do. I'm busting my ass to get to the top level, and finally I'm getting close. Then they shoved me down and I don't understand why, what I'm fighting for." Number 9. Fandango. When the Fandango gimmick first debuted on WWE TV, fans assumed it would be a short-lived character. The ballroom dancer persona didn't have too much depth, but when Fandango defeated Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 29, the fans did a complete 180 on Fandango. The next night on Raw, the fans hijacked the show by singing Fandango's theme song throughout the show, and WWE would coin the phrase Fandangoing. Vince McMahon evidently wanted Fandango to get over as a top heel in the company, and this was the complete opposite. The fans were turning Fandango babyface, and due to going against McMahon's vision, there was no doubt plans being put in motion to stop the Fandango hype train. There was creative put in place for Fandango to compete for the Intercontinental title at the Payback pay-per-view, but he suffered a concussion, taking him out of the match. When he returned, WWE failed to present him in a meaningful manner, despite the support still being there. Eventually, fans stopped caring, and it was hard to chant and cheer for someone who is barely being featured on WWE television. Number 8. Zack Ryder. The influence of Zack Ryder on the wrestling world can never be denied. Ryder was arguably the first wrestler to use social media sites such as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to elevate his career, and his hit YouTube show was so immensely popular and unique that fans gravitated towards Ryder's WWE character. Due to the popularity of his social media work, fans began to chant his name at WWE shows, and due to Vince McMahon not having a clue what Ryder was doing on social media, these chants were ignored for months. When the chants and demand to see Ryder became too noticeable for WWE to ignore, he would slowly be moved up the card, and he would even win the US title at the TLC pay-per-view in 2011. The problem was that WWE had clearly no plans to use Ryder in a meaningful role, and he quickly dropped the title to Jack Swagger. WWE then completely derailed the legitimacy and credibility of Ryder's character as he became a secondary character in the Kane vs. John Cena feud. WWE did everything they could to stop Ryder's popularity indefinitely, and the crazy thing is, all they had to do was feature Ryder in a substantial and engaging role and fans would have been satisfied. Number 7. Cesaro. Time and time again during his WWE career, Cesaro looked to be on the brink of greatness, but WWE always seemed reserved in pulling the trigger on Cesaro as a main eventer. Cesaro's popularity took off in 2014 as his work in The Real Americans made fans notice his insane strength and his stellar in-ring work. WWE would, to their credit, put over Cesaro in a huge way at the WrestleMania 30 Battle Royal, but instead of allowing Cesaro to flourish as a babyface, they decided to keep him as a heel and they paired him with Paul Heyman, which was an unnatural fit. It was made clear when Vince McMahon appeared on Stone Cold's podcast that he wasn't a Cesaro supporter, as his comments completely buried one of WWE's most promising stars. He's not connecting yet, and we hope he will. He doesn't quite have the charisma, he doesn't quite have the verbal skills as well, and maybe because he's Swiss, I don't know in terms of the European style, but those are the big things that he's lacking. The audience needs to care about you, they need to be able to feel your presence, you need to be able to project that. He's an extraordinary physical talent, extraordinary, but at the moment, and hopefully he'll get it, he lacks it. Unfortunately, over the next few years, this belief of McMahon will remain in place as Cesaro would stay over with the fan base, but McMahon would always hold back on making Cesaro a major player. Number 6. Bad News Barrett. The Bad News Barrett character was something completely different to what had been seen on TV before, and it was finally the role that Barrett looked like he was born to deliver. The character was engaging, hilarious, and the best thing that was when Barrett stepped into the ring, his in-ring work could perfectly match the outlandish persona. This gimmick was incredibly popular by WrestleMania season in 2014, and WWE did the right thing in allowing Barrett to become Intercontinental Champion. Eventually, Vince McMahon realized that he wasn't happy with how over Barrett was with the gimmick, and he remembered that the gimmick was supposed to be booed. Instead of doing the logical thing and turning Barrett babyface, they decided to change Barrett's gimmick completely and had Barrett portraying a generic and stale King gimmick following his 2015 King of the Ring victory. Number 5. Luke Harper. 2017 was the beginning of a seemingly breakout year for Luke Harper. Harper was involved in a storyline with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, and organically, Harper had become one of the most popular babyfaces on SmackDown. At one stage, it even looked like Harper was going to be involved in the WWE title match at WrestleMania 33. The fan reactions to Harper kept getting louder and louder, and there was a major push on social media to see Harper get the WrestleMania nod. According to Harper, during an interview on Talk Is Jericho, when he botched a spot in the Battle Royal, it gave WWE the justification to stop his push. Number 4. LA Knight. WWE made one of the smartest decisions imaginable when they allowed LA Knight to ditch the Max Dupree persona. The Dupree character was failing to show off the best version of LA Knight, and when the LA Knight character was back on TV, fans instantly connected with him. Thanks to the outstanding mic work and unbelievable charisma, LA became a fan favorite in early 2023, but WWE were hesitant to push him. He would be left off WrestleMania, and then it looked like he was going to win the 2023 Money in the Bank ladder match, but this also failed to come to fruition. It's been reported that WWE will be pushing LA Knight, and there are plans in place to capitalize on his popularity, yet it looks like LA Knight is getting over on his own has angered some of the top people within WWE. Number 3. Dolph Ziggler. There have been points in Dolph Ziggler's career where the fans have chosen him as the next top guy, but they've always had other ideas. When Ziggler won the world title in 2013, this was the payoff to years of Ziggler being beloved by the audience, but when Ziggler suffered a concussion, it gave WWE a good enough reason to bring Ziggler's main event push to an end. The year after Ziggler's world title debacle, Ziggler would once again become one of the most popular stars in the company, after he was a sole survivor at the 2014 Survivor Series event. This should have led to a huge main event push for Ziggler, but the best they could do for him was a mid-card feud over the Intercontinental title. WWE fans have become accustomed to being let down when it comes to Ziggler, and this likely explains why these days the former two-time world champion often receives zero reaction when he makes his entrance. Number 2. Rob Van Dam. One of the breakout stars of the Invasion storyline was ECW legend Rob Van Dam. His daring offense as well as his likable personality had made fans fall in love with him, and in 2002 there was a blatant opportunity for WWE to crown a new top babyface in the company. RVD was without question the most popular babyface on Raw, and when he collided with Triple H at the Unforgiven pay-per-view, there was a strong argument to be made that RVD should have won the world title. Unfortunately, WWE went in a different direction and ultimately kept RVD away from the main event scene, deciding instead to place him in a tag team with Kane before giving him a run in the mid-card in 2003. This was such a wasted opportunity, as during this time, WWE needed legitimate main event stars, and RVD was exactly what they needed. RVD would discuss why WWE didn't take advantage of his organic popularity during an appearance on the Angle podcast, and this is what he had to say.
I just heard recently that one of the reasons I wasn't pushed was that they heard that Hunter offered to take me aside and help me with promos, and that I turned him down. And I was like, I think that did happen. And the more I think about it, I totally remember that happening. I never thought about that probably in the last,
Wow.
I don't know, 8 or 9 years. But I totally remember that happening, and I didn't even realize it was that significant of a thing.
And number 1, Daniel Bryan. The growth of Daniel Bryan in WWE was fascinating. Bryan started off in the company as someone who got decent enough ovations, but when he turned heel during his first world title reign, everything changed. Bryan's character work was outstanding, and his yes chant took off with thousands of fans on a weekly basis imitating Bryan's chant. WWE would attempt to transfer Bryan's growing popularity onto Sheamus at WrestleMania 28 when they had Bryan drop the title to him in just 28 seconds. But this backfired on WWE as Bryan became even more popular and the fans weren't going to stop showing their support for one of the most well-rounded performers in the company. WWE then had the idea to move Bryan away from the world title picture and place him in a pairing with Kane. This in turn made Bryan even more likable and endearing, as his work with Kane was some of the finest work of the respective era. It was so funny, it was so charming, and it's aged extremely well. WWE then finally decided to give Bryan a run as a top guy in the summer of 2013, but a few months into this experiment, Vince McMahon had the brazen idea to attempt to transfer Bryan's popularity onto the Big Show, as Big Show would obnoxiously begin to do the yes chants. Thankfully, WWE fans weren't buying it, and the push to see Bryan as the number one guy continued. Fast forward to WrestleMania 30, and before CM Punk walked out of WWE, Bryan was going to yet again face Sheamus at the event. However, due to the aforementioned Punk walkout, as well as a less than stellar response to WWE's plan to have Randy Orton vs Batista main event WrestleMania, Bryan would be added to the main event. They would then crown Bryan in one of the most satisfying moments in WWE history, and everyone's hard work was worth it, and it just goes to show that fans should never give up showing support to their favourite wrestlers. But there you have it folks, 10 wrestlers WWE refused to push after they got over organically. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.